What you're about to watch has a lot of edits in it because last night I was very tired and probably shouldn't have been working on this car. Make sure that you have the right manual downloaded before you start this project. I unfortunately had the wrong manual downloaded. It was for a previous model of the Assault Sprint car. I got all sorts of sidetracked. So you're going to see a little bit of mess ups. You're going to see me bounce around just a little bit because I did actually end up putting the front end together before the Bellcrank, and the Bellcrank's supposed to go on pretty much right after you get the front bulkhead done. So I do get to that. It's just towards the end of this video. There is one thing that I am missing that was unfortunately not in the box. I emailed them last night at 11:30. At 6:45 this morning, I got an email back saying that it was on the way. There are no questions asked, taking care of the situation, so that's awesome. I'm very, very grateful for that. And I mean, it happens. This is a fairly small company, and that tends to happen with smaller companies, especially ones that are kind of blowing up like GFRP is right now. So, I mean, they're kind of making it big time, I would say, as far as oval racing goes. The manual does have a couple of, not hiccups, just things that if you're not familiar with building kits already, it's going to be more difficult for you to do. So just be prepared. If you have an associated kit or something that is like that already, and you have the page you can fold out that has the screw sizes on it, go ahead and just cut that out and have it handy because you're going to need it because this manual is a PDF download. I've got it on the iPad here. It is PDF download. You do need something where if you don't know sizes of screws just by looking at them, you're going to need something like that to be able to compare the screw sizes with what it's calling for because there's 3x8s, 3x6s, 3x10s, 3x12s, all in the same bags. You're going to need to be able to differentiate between those, and that's why I recommend going ahead and getting something like the associated manual out and ready to go if you have an associated or another like product that has, I believe Techno actually has it as well, maybe even X-Ray. The thing that I'm missing is actually the steering links, so those are on the way. For right now, I don't have that. What you're getting ready to see is bags A and B. I'm actually up this morning getting ready to start on bag C, and we'll get moving here. So you'll see where I'm going today next week. For right now, go ahead and check out what happens with bags A and B. And again, I apologize for the excessive editing in those clips. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Combustion RC. In today's episode, we're going to jump into Team GFRP 2024 Assault 110 scale sprint car coming in at $650. This is an amazing kit. You're not going to believe what comes in this box that we're going to dive into here in just a minute. This is a smaller company, so they don't have paper manuals. You do get a PDF download though, so make sure that you have something handy like an iPad where you can have your PDF manual right there. The manual is actually very well done. As you can see here, it has pretty much anything and everything on this well done in there. So we're going to get into that as well. So I've got that handy and ready to rock. I've got the kit right here. Let's get into this so you can see how amazing this kit really is. One thing I did ask when I ordered this kit in the comment section was I said, can you include a list of the top 5 or so parts that you would get as the upgrade items for running on dirt such as Chili Bowl down in Tulsa, Oklahoma? The dirt that I'm going to be running on is very similar. And so I wanted to kind of know, I said, plus, this is going on YouTube. I wanted the YouTube world to know. They actually set a smiley face and listed them. So I'm going to hold this up right here so you can see those part numbers. So what they said was these are all GFR part numbers for GFRP. 1602, which is a left rear brass hub. 1612, which is an aluminum dual bell crank. 1293M, as in Mary, which is a metric brass rear camber mount. 1403 or 1404, which is carbon and brass arm inserts. And then QS6400, which is the small bore to big bore shock collar. Lets you run big bore springs on the small bore shocks. Because I did get the small bore shocks for the faster reaction time, since it is mostly smooth dirt down there. So those are items that may be in this channel, depending on what funds we get here before we get to that time of the year. For now, let's dig into this. They do send you a sticker sheet with some awesome GFRP stickers here. They also give you some cool quasi-speed stickers. One thing that I did think was a nice touch that I've not seen really anybody do is they include thread lock in the kit. So inside, once you pull this sleeve off, you'll notice that this is a push-on cap. You just snip it right there, and it's got enough thread lock here to probably do this kit, and that's about it. But it is kind of cool that they give you that in there because not very many people give you thread lock, and this is something that you will need as blue thread lock. So if you don't have it, go ahead and pick some up. So some of the first things we're going to notice in the kit here is we do have the nylon hardware for the body. We have some body pieces, more body pieces, more body pieces, and more body pieces, and more body pieces, and more body pieces, and more body pieces. That's a lot of body pieces. All right, so as we go into the kit here, we'll find, let's see, right away we've got bag D, which is our CVD axles, nice 71 millimeter CV axles with 7 millimeter clamping aluminum hexes. The beautiful carbon fiber chassis, shock towers, and all the hardware for that. It looks like there's some aluminum in here. A very large chunk of aluminum right there. Look at that. That thing is huge. I'm gonna tell you, there is one thing about this kit that I'm already noticing. There's a lot of aluminum. There's a lot of carbon fiber. There's those small bore shocks, as you can tell, they are a very nice small bore shock. Really nice pistons and really nice shock shafts, which are screw-on. They are not E-clips, which is fantastic to see. The gear housing, this is an aluminum gear housing. How cool is that? Ball differential, the grease is in there for the ball differential. Carbon fiber motor mount, fantastic. Everything in here is such high quality. Like, this is amazing. It's like slipper lockout is included. Another massive 10-ply shock tower. We do have the 2-piece rear arms, so you can actually do adjustable camber rear arms. The turnbuckles in there, I'm not sure if they're steel or titanium, but they do look like titanium. They have that kind of grayish look to them, unlike the steel, which is usually just straight silver. Your battery strap there. The front hubs and casters are plastic, so that is good. There is something in there that is breakable. I don't see any carbon fiber flat plates in here, so I'm going to say that these might not be adjustable Ackerman. And then here is our cage for our sprint car body, so we've got the cage there as well. Very nice kit, looking very much forward to getting this built. Bag A is our bag with the chassis, that giant aluminum plate, a shock tower possibly? Not sure. There's a lot of stuff in here. Let's get this bag open. I'm going to get you tilted down so we can see what's in this bag. We've got our manual open on the iPad over here. We've got my workstation here, the zit gun. Also make sure you have your 5.5 wrenches ready. So probably you're going to need those as well for any of the nuts. You're going to need your X-Acto. And not needed, but highly recommended, is a magnetic bowl to put your hardware into. Now, another thing that you're going to want to get is electronics for this. In this vehicle, I'm going to be running the same Reedy Black Box 610R that I'm running in the A-Mod and the Street Stock, and I'm running the same low-profile servo that I'm running in the Street Stock as well. This guy, Reedy RT2007A. This is a fantastic high torque, decent speed. It's a 0.08 speed, but very, very torquey little titanium gear, low profile aluminum heatsink servo. It's phenomenal. The motor, I'm still waiting to come in. It's going to be bonkers. I'm actually putting a Reedy 4.5 turn motor in this because why not? You can always turn the motor down. You can't turn it up. So I'd rather have more than not enough. Just remember that. If you're running in a mod class, you can always turn the motor down. You can't turn it up. If you're running a very short track and you need, for off-road, some torque, I wouldn't recommend a 4.5 turn motor. That's more for flat, straight turn. If you're running off-road and you want to go hot, I usually run a 6 turn like what I'm running in this A-Mod right here. 6 turns are plenty for most off-road tracks that you're going to run into. If you're running 4-wheel drive 10-scale buggy, you can usually go down to a 5 or 5.5 turn. But aside from that, most of the time in any 2-wheel drive vehicle, I don't run anything less than a 6 turn. The 6 turn is usually even enough to where I have to do a pretty good throttle curve. Something to kind of keep in mind. I am going to go over the Futaba 4PM and the Reedy charger here, as well as the Hexfly charger in another video to kind of give you guys a rundown of how they all operate and what they do. This one just came in finally. They are awesome. 2 cells, you can do 14 amps per channel. It's going to be great. Can't wait to get into it. That actually hasn't even been opened yet. For now, let's jump back into the kit. Let's go ahead and open bag A. Also, just in case there's any tight screw areas, I do have this J-Concepts thumb wrench that is a 5.5 and a 7 as well, in case we get any tight areas. One thing that I do want to make perfectly clear before we get started, if you're somebody who already races a sprint car, please call out anything that I do that may be wrong for running on red clay. I've never built a sprint car or set one up before. I've raced 3 different ones. They were all rent-a-rides from other people. guys who are very good at making sprint cars, literally making. One of them was a guy who has his own chassis company. And so I have never done one of these. It was always just cars that were already ready to go. I don't know the first thing about what I'm doing. Sprint cars are their own animal. We're going to learn together. So if you already raced a sprint car, please, by all means, comment below. Let me know what you would do or not do. Thanks for the advice in advance. Don't forget to hydrate. Just water tonight. That chassis is beautiful. Look at that. Look at all those holes too. That milling work is phenomenal. That is beautiful. So there's our bottom. Obviously, countersunks the bottom side, and that's the top side. So, and if you're afraid of little drops like that, don't put it on a racetrack. It's going to get hit harder than that. But as you can see, that's some nice thick carbon fiber right there. Not sure how many ply that is, but it's very thick. And it looks like a really high grade carbon fiber as well. All right, so into the next section here, we have a very large aluminum piece, another very large aluminum piece, an arm, a small aluminum piece, another small aluminum piece, more aluminum. Ooh, is that a turnbuckle wrench? That's a nice little turnbuckle wrench they give you. That's awesome. Guys, this kit is $650, which is as much as an 8-scale buggy, but it is beautiful. Here's that Bellcrank. This is aluminum if you get the upgraded one. I do understand why they say that. There's some more of that beautiful carbon fiber. This is going to say probably the rack and front shock tower. So there's where we're going to start at for this one. We're going to get our hardware bowl and our hardware bag. Make sure your bag is empty before you throw it away. Don't do what I've done before and throw away hardware you need. All right, these are actually flanged. Wow. Okay, so flared or flanged bearings. So that's kind of cool to see. Haven't seen that on anything for quite a while. Keeps them from slipping through the places that you don't want them to go though. Some 3x8s, 3x10, little bitty bearing. There's some countersunk 3x8s, ball studs here. You got two different lengths of ball studs. You got a really short one, got two really short ones, two that look to be 6, two that look to be 8 or 10. It's 4 mils. Yeah, those are 4 mils. Crazy. So we got some 4 mils. Cool thing about the PDF that I do like that on the PDF you can do this. You can scroll obviously, but then you can actually zoom in and make that section really big. Can't do that on a piece of paper. So step 1, we need the 2-hole 30-degree nose plate, which is what this is. And they have it setting at, obviously the countersunks are on the bottom, so it's going to be this way. And then they want you to have the metric aluminum front bulkhead. There's this guy here. It's going to be setting at this angle, like so. And number 3 is our 4x10 countersunk screws. We need 4 of these. Aluminum camber link extensions, that's what these are called here. So we need these guys. So one goes right side up, one goes right side down. 3x8 button head screws. We need 5 of those. 5? No, it's number 5. Sorry. We need 4 of those. So 4 3x8 button head screws. And last but not least, short ball stud. So that's your little 6mm guys here. And because I do have my own thread lock tube here, I'm just going to use this because I know how this sets up. The Permatex stuff I've actually never used, so I'm not sure how it actually sets, but Permatex is the #1 brand in most silicone adhesives for automobiles, so I wouldn't be surprised. This might actually be Permatex for all I know. But I do know that we're going to need this because we are screwing into aluminum. So it looks like this goes on here like so. Very nice, very nice. Oh yeah. So that's going to go on there. With these big guys here, which these are 2.5s, I bet. Which I did not get out. They are. There's your 2.5. So for the first time in any kit that we've built so far, we actually need to have a 2.5. Because all the associateds have been 1.5 and 2s. It's nice to see some heavy-duty hardware, though, that's for sure. Especially on a front bulkhead of a sprint car, because as we all know, mod sprint is a class that really rips. I'm not sure if the music in the background is coming through, but if you like lo-fi, like working with lo-fi, if you do YouTube as well, it's Isaac Whedon, and he actually does not, as far as I know, copyright his music, because I've actually played several of them in my videos before and never get a copyright claim. He copyrights his name, but not the actual music itself, which is kind of awesome. Great lo-fi stuff, though. Just in case, though, I am going to turn it down a little bit more because I don't want it coming through and flagging me, and then you don't get the video. All right, so there's those in. We are good there. Let's wipe off that thread lock just a little bit here. And then it sits like this. Zoom in good here. All right, so your left side is going to go nubby side face down. Right side is going to go nubby side face up. And this is going to be done with these guys, 3x10s. Did it even go through all the way? There's how much they go through. So I said this side goes up. I'm going to go ahead and drop right in these holes here since we're going through. That is a tiny drop. It just looks like there's more. There we go. We use our 2mm here. So our right side, the nubbies face up, which is on here. See here. On the left side, they face down. There is screw holes on the back and the front of this, which is interesting because I don't see any set screws calling for it, but you know, I have messed up on things before in the past, haven't I? I say that because those of you who have seen my other videos, you know that I have in fact messed up in the past. Very nice, very nice. Those went in beautifully. So we'll say the amount of aluminum on this is still just astonishing me. I mean, we've only opened one bag, and this is already a whole massive chunk of aluminum. That's awesome. And we need our short guys with our 12 studs. So we're going to go ahead and give them a little droppity drop of some TL, some thread lock. It says to put them on the second hole, so that's what we shall do. No ball stud washers under them. I do have a pack of ball stud washers coming from Sticky Kicks because they have a whole giant pack of pink ones and all the different thicknesses you can get from them. Got several Sticky Kicks items coming, so we will touch base on those in a future video. All right, so now we're on to step 2. Step 2, we need our control arms, which are going to face forward as such. So the shock mounts face the rear of this here, like so. I need your hinge pins and 2.5 by 4. So these little dudes, these are going to hold the hinge pins in the arms. And then the long ball studs, which are these guys. That's all we need for this step. Looks like these are actually captured hinge pins at the back of the arm. Is that what I'm seeing? Yes, they stop on the rear of the arm. So that is how those go through there and stop. There we go. So you can actually go ahead and put both arms on. You do not need to thread lock this little screw because it is going into the nylon composite. It's most likely 1.5. It is. Notice I haven't got the Ugga out yet. It's because I don't think we're going to need it for a little bit. These little guys, I don't really like doing that aluminum. I prefer not to cross-thread aluminum, especially at the beginning of a build. That would be horrible. you've seen in my previous videos, I always say if it's going into carbon fiber, no ug-a-dug to tighten it down because you don't want to snap the carbon fiber. If you're doing it in aluminum, your first building, do it by hand so you don't cross thread. So I would recommend probably getting extra control arms for the front, especially control arms. As they said, upgrade this to the aluminum rack and have extra arms for sure. Probably extra caster and cambers, just because on the two-wheel drive where you expose wheels, you want to make sure that you're prepared for any type of crash like that. All right, so now we're on to step 3 in bag 8 here. Step 3 is going to be, looks like 2 more of the 4x10s. That's these guys here. And all right, well, I'm glad there's not vast differences between these, but I now see what my issues were. So these were not supposed to go on here. So the manual that I had downloaded on accident was for the original Assault, which had a single thing in the middle and not a dual. So we have to back up now to step 3, where I was supposed to put these on. My goodness. So simple, right? Can't believe I did that. So if you're anything like me, make sure before you're doing this that you're looking at the correct manual so you don't open a whole bunch of bags you don't need to. Okay, so that's done. Now we can build our Bellcrank, which is what we're, oh my gosh. Okay. Those. Perfect. They need bearings in them. That's the flange bearings, I'm guessing. Number 7 is flange 6x10. Still doesn't explain why I can't find my other set of turnbuckles. Still think I'm missing a set of turnbuckles. We'll find out when we get there, I guess. Perfect. Just go in there. My goodness, guys. So if you're following along and you're like, what in the world just happened? That's what just happened. That's what just happened. All right, so this sets like so. And then we need the steering rack. Number 8's are little bearings, isn't it? Yep. They're little bearings. Okay. We need 3x8s. 2 of those. We need 2 metric short ball studs. These guys that I already put in need to come off. Those are not supposed to go in there. My goodness. See, guys, this is the importance of making sure you have the correct manual. Because these are not supposed to go in here, even though that's what it showed on the other one. So I don't know how I ended up with the other one, because this one was the one that was in my email. The other one was actually in my iPad, so I don't know what in the world would happen there. My goodness. Let me double check what I did at the beginning and make sure I got that right. Okay, so this part is correct, even though we haven't got to the shock tower yet, technically, or the turnbuckle. The rest of it is correct. Okay, cool. And then that's why I have 2 3mm guys here. My goodness gracious. Oh my goodness. Sometimes you just feel like a moron. All my stresses just got relieved so much right there, because I was getting very stressed about that. I was like, what in the world? Did something change drastically? Is this like a partial kit that's part new, part not. I wasn't sure. I was getting very confused. Okay, so once he's in the middle hole. Okay. Two millimeter and a 5.5 nut driver. Perfect. All right, so then this is going to face like so. And these here, these top hats, you can tell are countersunk on one side, thread on the inside there. See there, thread, countersunk. These are going to go in the top of this, like that, on both of these. We'll go ahead and do a drop of thread lock in there. Go. And then it faces in. Okay. So we need our 2 millimeter wrench. This needs to face in. This is this side would be this one. Okay. Since I put thread lock on there, I'm not worried about tightening it down, but this does have a hex on the outside, so it looks to be a 7 millimeter. Yeah, 7 millimeter hex. So you can do that as well. Come on. Stop trying to cross thread. There it goes. Sometimes that aluminum could be tricky. Now we use these two cool washers. And then two 3x10 countersunks. Oh my goodness. Guys, it's also very important to not work on cars late at night because you make dumb decisions. Which I should have noticed way in advance that it was the wrong manual. Plus, I just put these on the wrong side. It is midnight right now. I didn't realize that until just now. Just know, YouTube, you take priority over my sleep. How's that? Feel important today? Cool. Should be. Because you are important. You're all important. Everybody who watches is important. Because without you guys hitting that subscribe button, I wouldn't be able to do this. I'm not to the point of being able to monetize just yet, but I'm getting close, which means soon I'll be able to actually have money to be able to purchase more and actually give you guys more content. Because doing this all out of pocket does get expensive. There we go. Much better. All right, so now I've got our rack in. And then since these are what came out of bag 1, we're going to use these. Or sorry, not bag 1. Bag A. A. Yeah, these must be 10 total length. That's how they count them. There we go. So glad that so far we're not running into any major issues other than my ignorance. Now here's the only problem. It still shows me in bag B doing the other set of links. But I do not have another set of links, because these links are in fact for bag C, which is the rear end. Which means I do not have steer links. That does not look good. See here in step number 13, I'm actually missing this bent one and that link right there. We're just going to send an email right now before I forget. All right, email sent. Let's continue on. All right, so it looks like steps 13 and 14 we have to wait for since we don't have the correct turnbuckles. So now we've got that. Now step 4 is the shock tower and 2 3x8 screws, it says. 2 3x8s that it's calling for here. These are going to go into these little holes here. So we'll do a drop there and a drop there. Wipe up any excess that drips out. And looks like these are going in the outside holes. Your 2mm wrench for this. There's that one. This is another way I make sure that I don't cross thread is if you notice I'm holding the narrowest part of the screwdriver. That is so that if it does start to catch, my fingers just slide on it. Whereas if I'm grabbing up here and I catch, I can easily grind a new hole in there. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to have a new screw line, new plane. So there's our front end and shock tower. Looks like that is the only things in that one. All right, so next is step 5, which is bag B. We're going to go ahead and slide this up to the side and cut bag B open here. Okay, so this time I decided to keep my hardware over here and not in the bowl because this is hardware from bag A, this is hardware from bag B, with the exception of these. Decided to keep things separate. The battery straps did come from bag B. Everything from this line this way is bag B, this way is bag A, this is bag A. So I kept my hardware here for bag B so we can keep it separated. The first thing we're going to want to do in bag B is step number 5 in our manual here, and that is we need to have 2 of our caster top hats, one for each arm, or for each caster block, and their caster blocks, like so. It wants us to use the 0 degree insert, so you have 0, 5, and 10 degrees, so these zeros are the ones that are direct center. So you need one for each arm. Make sure it's not telling me to do this in 2 separate. No, it's not. Okay. Since sprint cars are so finicky with one side to the other, I want to make sure that they were actually the same. So zeros on each arm with these guys here because you can use the 5 degree. As you can see, it's 5 degrees off center. Or the 10 degree where it's fully off. So there is that as well. So, okay, so now we need those. And then it says we need, in the next step, each side needs one of these guys, which is our steering block, 0 degree steering block, our front axle for each side, 3x6, that's going to be our shorter guys here. One of those for each axle. 5x10 bearings for each steering block or axle, depending on how you want to look at it. So here you have step 5, step 6, and then step 7 is the long ball stud. And a 3x8 screw. So we know these are 3x6s. These are your 3x8s here. So you need one of those for each side as well. So interesting enough, we're actually using the top screw as the top screw for our caster mount. That's a new one. I haven't seen that before, so that's kind of cool. The design of this is very interesting. It's very much different than anything else I've ever built, so this is very, very interesting. So we'll go ahead and put our, let's see here. Let's do this one first. This is the one that's in the picture so that we can see which direction we're supposed to go in here. So it should go to the nub, goes in the back, which as you can see it's cut out, and on the side it's not cut out. So that should be simple enough. Push that guy in there. I'm not sure what control arms these are. I don't know if these are specific to the GFRP or if these are from a Kyosho, Yokomo, Mugen. It's not an associated for sure. Low C maybe. Not sure what it is exactly, but I don't know if it's one of their own or if it's one something off of something else. So it has their own GFR part number, so I'm going to assume that it's one of their own. And then these top hats or caster hats just slide in through here like so, which they will try to fall out, so just be careful with how you set that down. Step 6 is put the axles together. So that's simple enough. You just pop your bearings in. Make sure your axle is facing the side that curves in, like so. And then I do usually put a dot of thread lock on there just so it doesn't back out. And try not to wipe it off with your fingers like I just did. So let's try that again, shall we? Let's just get it on the screwdriver. That's a 1.5. That's why that doesn't work. Okay. Now, one thing I usually do is put a little bit of thread lock on here before I put it in the axle, just to help keep it from backing out. Just make sure the thread lock doesn't get down in your bearing. The last thing you want to do. You get that screw on there like so. See, I got a little bit of bubbling up out of there, so I don't want that on the bearing, so I'm just going to go ahead and take that off before I even get it tightened down anymore. Perfect. There's that. And then we go to step 7. See, we're jumping from one side to the other here, it looks like. This time it's going to go with this one, right? Put my thumb in there and make sure it doesn't. Yeah, so this one. So you got to hold it sideways to get this mounted in. You're going to put that in. So you got one side, the nub is facing down. You want this side with the arm out facing up, like so. And then your ball stud is going to go through the top hole here, which is very interesting. And then into your steering block, like so. No ball stud washers under it. And then your screw goes in the bottom one. there's one done. We're going to do the other one the same but opposite. So you want it facing down. This guy facing up. Like so. Oh, shoot. Come on. There, I got it. Sometimes that initial lineup is more difficult because everything's wanting to move around on you. All right, so assuming this is left and right like such. Okay. Step 8. Well, that's confusing. So the picture for step 8 also shows your steering servo already mounted and your battery strap's already mounted, but yet we don't do those till later. So I guess just ignore that. And we just need our outer hinge pins, which are these short guys here, and then two 2.5 by 4s, which, as we know from the previous, are these little itty bitty guys here. Just line those up. Ooh, that almost needs an arm reamer. That is a snug fit. Very snug fit. They're lined up, right? Yep. It's always in those inserts that they're the tightest. Remember, I had this issue on the SR10M kit as well. It's just too pointy of a little guy to push with your finger sometimes. Goodness gracious. That one mostly went in without needing any persuasion. So then we take our little guys here. Remember, you don't need thread lock. Need the 1.5. Those snugged in. So far, I can say kit quality has been very good quality so far. All right, so step 9 is turnbuckle, 57 millimeter turnbuckle. That's the long guys. Now remember, these are etched on one side and the other, so make sure that they are correct. You got a turnbuckle wrench that it comes with. It's kind of nice. These are 1.5 to go through the eye of the guy here. You need one of these on each one, And remember, like I've said in some of my previous videos, if you haven't watched them, the threaded side is a reverse thread, or the etch side is reverse thread, the other side is not, which means the side without the notch is righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. The other side is lefty-tighty, righty-loosey. Let's get that in there and get it started. Which may be easier said than done, as usual. I'm not sure exactly how this is supposed to go, how far it's supposed to go, but it looks like in the picture they're showing 3 threads showing. So we're just going to go with that because it doesn't give you an actual measurement of how long the camber links are supposed to be turned to. It simply says to thread them. So that's what we're going to do. There's a few things that I wish were in here, but overall, the manual's not horrible. Not good if this is your first kit build. If this is your first time you've ever built a race kit, I don't recommend getting into sprint cars. Start with something a little easier so you get your bearings about you on an oval. For sure. Gosh, sometimes turnbuckles are tough. Sometimes they could try to cross thread themselves as they're going in, and hope they straighten themselves out. This one seems to. As I said, there's 3 threads showing, so that's what we're going to do. The nice thing is on these, they do face the same. They both face down. All right, so there we go. We've got our 3 threads showing on each side. These should be the same. They are. So I usually make the line face the left side of the vehicle, which is what I'm going to do on these. So what I'm talking about the line is that little etched line that's in there. Oh my. Those are the types of ball ends that don't come off once they're on. Okay. Might need the persuaders for this, guys. We just might need the persuaders. Yep. That is a tight snap. Very tight snap. There it goes. All right. The other one, you might just be able to use the old wrench push. Let's see. Or not. Goodness. I guess the good thing is, once these are on, you don't have to worry about them coming off. Unless they break. Move on to step 15, which is our servo mount screws. Actually, we're going to do step 15 first and then 14 so that we can mount our servo. And then, I guess we don't have to on this because we can reach across. So yeah, we can actually do this on this one. That's kind of cool. You can't usually do that on other cars. So these are going to go, the single screw hole is going to go in the front, it looks like, of the, where it wants it. Yep. And these are going to be put in with 3x10 countersunks, which are these guys. And these 4 screws, along with these 4 screws, it looks like are going to be our actual mounting screws. We're going to use our zip zap. That was a dumb idea. We're a dumb idea again here. All right. I think it's going to be about as tight as we can get them without having a servo on. So we're going to go ahead and get our servo. And the servo is going to mount with the horn on the side facing the rear of the vehicle. Take one screw, put it through like so. So it makes a nice button. Go ahead and get all these screws ready here. Perfect. Now that that's in, we can get that just chilling there. We're going to make our tiny guy. So this little guy here. This one, it looks like it's going to use these 2 rod ends. Have the swivel ball in them. And how much thread are we showing here? Barely any. So that is going to be like so. Still have to get a servo horn for this guy. So the 3x16s are these 2 long guys. One is going to go for the horn here. And one is going to go on here. I think I have a horn I can actually put on here for now. All right, so for now we have this servo horn on here. It does want us to use 2 of these shims, I think it said. Look at these 4mm shims. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. So that's going to go through like so. Shims on there. It shows 2, but I'm only going to put 1 on because that seems excessive. Next is battery straps. One thing to keep in mind is it only says this in lettering. It doesn't show it in the videos. It doesn't show you in the picture the battery straps, but it tells you to make sure you slide them through before locking down. So you need to have that. They're ready to rock. So just like so. So many battery positions for this too. It's pretty awesome. There we go. And we're going to the third hole here at once. Yep, I use the last hole. There's that. What's next? It looks like that's going to be the end of bag B. All right, so that was bag A and most of bag B. We do have this much of it done. We should technically have the steering links done as well, but unfortunately the steering links weren't in our bag. So got to wait for those to come in. I did email them, so hopefully they get back to me pretty quick. I will probably call tomorrow just to verify and touch base because I'm going to see if I can try to get those rush shipped since we are in the middle of recording. So here's where we're at so far. It's actually a really nice looking kit. It is definitely not a beginner friendly kit to build at all. The manual is not 100% direct and forward, and yeah, it's definitely not like an Associated or a Techno kit or X-Ray for that matter. X-Ray is also very good about that. So not a good one for a first time building. It's a sprint car. It's a handful. So I'm tired. It's late. Yep. So until next time, keep the rubber side down, the shiny side up, and remember to stay in the groove.